G'day, I'm Steve. Here's a very simple project we're putting together, and it's a fishing rod rack. Very easy to do, 6 bits of timber, a few screws, some glue, and a bit of time. And I'll take you step by step through the entire making of the project. Okay, now we can start making that fishing rod rack. Tidy up the garage a little bit, get some space back, and start looking after our fishing gear. What you'll need to do is go to the hardware shop and get some timber. I'm just using ordinary standard grade utility pine, and it is absolutely fine. Now the sizes you'll need are 2 pieces, 140 wide by 19, 900 mil long. 2 pieces of 110 wide by 19 mil, 900 long. And 2 pieces of 900 long, 42 mil wide by 19. Now a lot of hardware places nowadays will actually cut your timber to size, and if that's the case where you are, ask them to cut the boards into the sizes that you need. Now the 140 by 19 by 90, they're fine. That's the finished size we want. The 110, ask them to cut both boards so you get 550, and whatever the other bit is, that doesn't matter, but you want 2 at 550. And with the 42 by 19, get them to cut 1 bit at 310. Now if you cut that at 310, you're going to have to do a little bit of cutting on this piece when we come to final fitting, but it's not that much. So if you can get all that done, you're ahead of the game, and when you get home, we can get straight into making the project with the parts already cut to size. So let's get a start on. What you'll need first of all is a ruler. If you've got a longer one, that's better. If not, we'll just use a 12-inch ruler and a pencil. I've got a ruler, I've got a pencil, and a piece of pine that's 110 wide and 550 long. Now what I want to do is mark that out into 50 millimetre increments. Put the ruler on the edge, and then just mark off 50 mils all the way along. And there you have it. Next, get a square of some description and bring these lines down to the edge. So put your pencil actually on the mark you want, move the gauge up to it, or the square in this case, put your pencil on the mark, move the square up to it, pull it down, pencil on the mark, square up, pull it down, pencil on the mark, square up, pull it down. Once they're all marked like that, take your ruler and come in about 10 mil and just do a couple of marks at 10 mil in from the side, then draw a line along there. So you should have something looking like that at this stage. Next, mark up. Now this depends on what hole size you want. I'm going to use a 1-inch spade bit, but if you've got thinner rods, you might get away with a 19 mil or 3/4 inch spade bit. But whatever size hole that you're going to make, you have to divide that in half so we can get the radius and mark your points on these lines we've just drawn. Easiest way to do that, grab hold of a compass. So I said I'm using 1 inch, which is 25 mil. So come down 12.5 mil. In this case I can do 1/2 inch. And now From this line we drew along here, put a little arc. Now at this point you can leave it like that, or if you've got a brad awl or something sharp, it just helps the drill start if you just make a little hole. By the way, these are really simple to make. You just get a piece of timber, it doesn't have to be turned like this, and then cut a bit of a nail, put it in the end, and you've got a lovely little tool that's called a brad awl. Very useful. And there you have them all marked out. I'm going to drill mine using a cordless drill, but if you've got a drill press or some other means, by all means use that. Just a hint, when you're using these spade bits, when you're actually drilling, don't drill all the way through the hole in one go. The reason being, you'll get tear out at the other end. So if you just drill halfway through, I'll give you an example. So if you just drill partially in, so you can actually see that the drills come out the other side, and then turn it over and put the drill in this side and drill it out, you'll save a lot of tear out and your job will look much more professional. There you are, got a neat hole with no tear out. So I'll just do the rest of the holes like that, and then we'll move on to the next step. So there we go. We've now got 10 holes for 10 rods in the rack. Now these marks here, we've got to take some more measurements on them so we can cut a channel for the rods to actually go in. I would measure 10 mil either side. Then those marks that I've just marked either side of these centre lines, continue those up with the square you used before. Now what we're going to do with these lines is cut through, and that'll allow the rod to pass through and rest in these cradles here. And I'll just cut these with a jigsaw. That's what you're going to end up with. Your rod can go in there and sit. I'll just do the rest of these, then we'll move on. Okay, that's the last of them. Looking all right so far. As we concentrate on the other stuff, we'll just glue a backboard onto this. Now remember, we got that 42 by 19 cut at 310. Well, some of those offcuts are going to be 550 or 570 or something along those lines. So get a bit of that and we'll glue it onto the back of here. So here it is, and we'll glue it just on the back of that. Spread it with the fingers. Use a brush if you like, or a spatula. Yeah, just glue it down there. Make sure it's nice and even. Grab a couple of clamps. Make sure it's nice and flush. Clamp on this end. And I might put one in the middle just for luck. Now if you've got a bucket next to your bench, an old rag in it, some water. The dog drinks out of mine mostly, but just with a wet rag, get off the excess glue. This saves you a lot of sanding and cleaning up later on. Never be frightened about putting water and wood together. That's how wood grows, with water. And just in here you can see we've got glue line coming up. Get in there and we'll just take that out. It's going to make the job look a lot nicer when it's all finished. There we go, put the water away. And there we go, all cleaned, glued up, ready for the next step. Just make sure the ends, this end here and this one are nice and flush. Makes it easier later on. Okay, with some of the offcuts from the 110 that we just made the rod support with, measure up 30 mil on one side, and then draw a 45-degree line from that 30 mil mark across. Now where that comes over, measure up 30 mil again. And then draw that across. Now what we've got to do is cut down here and across here. If you've got a vise, put it in a vise. And here's a little trick. If you've got a vise and you've ever had jobs slipping on it, get some water, spray it into your vise, put the timber in there, and that will not budge. I'll just get the jigsaw here. Okay, and we'll cut this bit off. Grab a piece of sandpaper and just where the dags have come off, clean that up just a little bit. Clean the edges off. And just hold them together. Make sure they're the same length and roughly the same size. Other bit we've got left, measure 80. It doesn't really matter, you can just cut it in half if you like. Now I'll just cut this bit in half. Now we've got 4 bits. 2 with angles cut on them that are the same size. And look, don't panic. If they're not 45 degrees, it doesn't matter. Providing they're roughly the same angle, that's the main thing. And it's more important that they're the same length. And then the other bit of scrap we cut in half. Now we've got 2 rectangles of pine there. Put those to one side.